A journalist from Michigan held for months in jail in Myanmar. Today, Danny Fenster's family on their hopes and fears. And while no one expected the redistricting process to be easy, it is suddenly caught up in plenty of turmoil. Today is Sunday, September 12, 2021, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. It has been, of course, a weekend of remembrance as we mark 20 years since the attacks of September 11th, 2001. In fact, coming up a little later on, the extraordinary story of Michigan economist Patrick Anderson. He was on the 39th floor of the World Trade Center when the first plane hit, and his story of escape and survival is amazing, and you'll hear it coming up a little later. But we're going to start this morning with the terrible ordeal of Danny Fenster. In May, the Michigander was on his way home to Detroit when he was arrested at the airport in Myanmar. He's the editor of an online magazine called Frontier Myanmar, and he was charged with incitement. But that barely seems to mean anything, since the charges haven't been explained to even his attorney, much less his family. There have been delays. Fenster's next court hearing, though, is a week from tomorrow. Given the opaque nature of the military regime that controls Myanmar, how this will play out is anyone's guess. And in a moment, we're going to talk with Danny Fenster's family, struggling from here in Michigan to get a handle on what is happening a half a world away. Also ahead, we're going to talk about mounting troubles for the Michigan Redistricting Commission and the new demands on COVID vaccines coming from President Biden. It's all today on Flashpoint. At the end of May, journalist Danny Fenster was about to board a plane in Myanmar bound for Malaysia to head home to see his family in Huntington Woods. Instead, he was arrested and charged with incitement. His detention at Ensign Prison has now stretched out to more than 100 days, and both the State Department and Danny's family have found answers to be very elusive. Joining me this morning, Rose and Buddy Fenster, Danny's mother and father, and his brother, Brian Fenster. I'm so glad to have you with me on a horrible topic that we have to try to explore here. But Mom and Dad, let me start with you. This has to be just surreal to have your son sitting in the middle of this case of international controversy and intrigue.
Yeah, it's been a total nightmare, shock and nightmare for the last 100 days.
It's very frustrating, and it really hurts when you realize he really cares about that country, and the way he's getting treated over there, it's just a shame.
I want to make sure that I was framing that correctly. You have had very little contact with Danny, and you really don't. No one is like really breaking down for you exactly what's happening in the charges or in the proceedings, correct?
Correct. I think the last time we spoke with him via phone, kind of Zoom-like without visual, was August 1st. And as far as being charged, he has not, as far as we know, been formally charged, just being questioned, or has been questioned.
Just being held.
Investigated.
Yeah, right. Brian, you've been trying to bring more attention to your brother's case, especially among international journalists who are, like me, horrified by his treatment. But I'm going to assume you also fear that even that attention might not matter to this military regime that runs Myanmar.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all we can do as a family is to continue to humanize Danny, to talk about Danny. And, at the end of the day, it's over 100 days and we don't have anything to show for it. He's not here. So we're tired, we're beat down, but in our minds, this has just begun, and we're going to continue to fight for him and tell his story.
You've also got fears, Brian, that he's been suffering from coronavirus in the prison, correct?
That's right. The last time we talked to him on August 1st, his latest symptoms were loss of taste and smell. Before that, he was feverish. And thankfully, his severe symptoms have passed. But as we're seeing in this country and all over the world, that can come back on at any time. You can catch this virus, and he's contained within a prison. So there's nowhere he can go. He's swimming in it.
Exactly right. Rose and Buddy, I'm sure a lot of people are interested in how Danny ended up where he is. I've heard over the years of many unusual paths in journalism, but ending up being the editor of an online magazine about the country we used to call Burma, now Myanmar, is kind of a crazy place to end up, isn't it?
Yeah, for Danny, no. He's always been interested in travel and going where places draw him. He was offered this job and thought it would be a great way to go to Myanmar, and he learned to love the people, the culture. He's been respectful and kind, and just doing his job, not feet on the ground, just editing, not involved in any kind of protests.
And if I could jump in, this is somebody who he cares about people, he cares about history,
Yeah.
he cares very much about experiences that are unlike anything he is accustomed to.
Yeah.
So that's what really drew him out there, and he came to really love this country and love the people, and that's really what has guided him this whole time.
It certainly feels that way, Buddy, but I've reported from a number of places around the world where they don't quite feel about journalism and journalists and a free press the way we do in the U.S. China, Russia, Cuba, and in those places, I guess I wouldn't have been too surprised if I would have ended up getting sideways with the authorities. Was Danny, did Danny seem cognizant of the risks of being a journalist in a place like this that really does not understand a free press the way we do?
Yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall. Many of his friends, his colleagues really were leaving the country. They were either leaving it or going underground, so still publishing articles, but, not under their name. He felt he was so under the radar because he was just, a managing editor for the English version of the magazine.
Yeah.
So he thought he wasn't anywhere near any problems. In fact, the last article Danny wrote was about a restaurant bar owner up in northern Myanmar who was in love with Eminem, and his whole bar restaurant is just
Right.
dedicated to the rapper Eminem and some Detroit culture too. So Danny was really surprised when they picked him up.
I've struggled to find anything that I guess would approach what we might think of as incitement, even in a very sensitive political climate. But Brian, it's my understanding then that his attorney, and he has an attorney there, but this attorney's not really being allowed to take part in the hearings. There's COVID restrictions and all that, but he's sort of told what happens afterward, which means that journalism isn't the only thing that's different about Myanmar. The court system is too.
Yeah, this is something we're constantly trying to wrap our heads around. We're accustomed to a certain way of doing things here, especially by the law, or what we know as the law in this country. So it's very different there. The hearings have been virtual the last, 2 months because of COVID. So he's been able to attend a few, but he's not able to participate. And as my dad said earlier, it's just kind of housekeeping, administrative. The hearings are less than 5 minutes, and it's an automatic remand to the prison.
Rose, I know you all have spent a lot of time talking with both the State Department and also your congressman, who is Andy Levin, but they're not getting great answers either, are they?
They're doing everything they can. Total support from them. We couldn't ask for anything more. But again, it's difficult dealing with over there, the government, or the so-called, how they run things is totally different than here, and things are just slow to respond.
Buddy, you also must be frustrated that there's so much international focus right now on the pandemic, for one, on everything that's happened in Afghanistan, for two, and then in many other things. Do you feel like this case is not getting the attention that it needs or deserves?
I think every day we get notices that internationally it still is being covered, especially in Southeast Asia now. I think we're starting to see more and more things in print. I think there's only so far, you can take it, but I think that this is something that strikes right into the heart of journalists everywhere. And I don't think it will die on us, and we'll do everything we can to get Danny home.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel the same way as a fellow scribe. Brian, can you bring yourself to think, I guess if they were to charge him and it were to go the wrong way, I believe this is a 3-year sentence that they're talking about in Myanmar. Have you let yourself think about that?
Trying not to, but yeah, every day you wake up with its automatic dread. So, and we're all we're all suffering for nothing. He has done nothing wrong. He has had valid work papers, valid visas. This is somebody who cares deeply about the country of Myanmar and the people and has abided by all the rules and customs. So we're really trying to not go to those dark places, and we're trying to channel all of that into action, and that's what we're doing.
This government took over back in February. Did Danny talk to you about it? Did it feel a palpable change in the country over the way things might be in the future there?
Yeah, it was extremely alarming. And, you know, Danny was always very good about alerting us when things, for instance, there was a few times they shut off internet in the country. He would give us a heads up, hey, going to be okay. I'll pop back up in a few days. And sure enough, he would. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, we were, again, every morning, even before his detainment, it was horror, not knowing what was going on there.
And lastly, Buddy and Rose, your thoughts as well about the future and whether you've allowed yourself to think about worst case scenarios yet.
It pops into your head like Brian said, but again, we're all using our positive energy to support each other and to not go there in our heads. We just, in our hearts, know hope that he'll be home safe soon.
Yeah. I mean, just when you believe that someone is innocent and you just believe with all your heart and soul that you just can't. I don't think of that being the final decision in his case. Yeah.
And again, anything's possible, but I guess not to go there until you have to is kind of what is keeping me going.
Yeah, so understandable. I so appreciate you all spending time with me this morning talking about it. I can see that there's a T-shirt that I need to add to my collection as well. But thanks so much. We wish you all the very best, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having us.
You bet. When we come back, we'll talk about problems for the Michigan Redistricting Commission. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.
Another day, another chance. Make the most of it with a network that can deliver gig speeds to the most businesses. And get the advanced cybersecurity solutions you need with COMCAST Business Security Edge.
Ask how to get COMCAST Business Security Edge to help protect all your connected devices. And get started with fast and reliable internet and voice for just $35 each a month when you buy both. Plus, ask about our best deal on a gig bundle and how to get a $500 prepaid card. Call or go online today to learn more. COMCAST Business, powering possibilities.
It's all around you, keeping up with you on your journey, working with providers to keep you healthy, and adding value to your life. HAP is here, and we've been right here all along. Wherever life takes you, see how HAP is here for you.
It's time to fall into savings with Karastan. As an exclusive retailer of Karastan, we are proud to offer the finest carpet, hardwood, and luxury vinyl floor in the industry. Through October 26th, take advantage of a $1,000 rebate and special financing on all Karastan products. So get inspired, elevate your decor with sophisticated designs and remarkable quality. And don't miss your chance to live beautifully. Visit our showroom and experience the beauty of Karastan.
Sending the kids off to their first day of school can give any parent visions of a bright future, and that future might include college. But how do you pay for it? Monday morning at 6:30, what's the best plan for your family? Nick Monticelli goes to the experts to help you figure it out. See the best ways to save and even where to find free money.
There's a lot of grants out there that go unused every single year. Grants are free money.
Monday on Local 4 News Today.
Welcome back. We have talked often on this program about the enormous stakes wrapped up in the work of the Michigan Redistricting Commission, and there is trouble popping up all over the place on this effort. We bring in Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of WDET to talk about it. Stephen, let me just rifle through these really quickly. First, we know the commission is going to miss the deadlines that were a part of the law for having the preliminary maps drawn and starting the public comment period. In fact, now Robert Davis, who never met a lawsuit he didn't like, has filed a suit against the commission for that. We've had issues with the attendance of the commission members, especially its chairperson. And now the state GOP chair, Ron Weiser, says two of the independents on the commission aren't really independents, but are instead Democrats who misrepresented themselves. So how much trouble is all of this, Stephen?
Well, I mean, it erodes confidence in the outcome. And that's the biggest problem, is that, we need people to believe that this is a fairer and better way to do this. And, anyone who thought this was going to go off without glitches has never watched government work, let alone government try something it's never tried before. But they certainly need to get on top of all of these issues and make sure that the process is fair, that it's transparent, and that people can believe that the maps that they draw are not just representative of the population, but are free from the political influences that have driven all the maps to date.
Nolan, your thoughts on where we are at this juncture?
Well, everything was complicated by the delay in getting the census numbers and the numbers being really not very reliable or complete. I would have liked to seen this commission structure be set up, 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and forget about trying to get truly independent members. I think that's an almost impossible task. And now we see 2 of the 5 independents aren't really independent. And as Steve said, that erodes confidence. I really don't know if they're going to get districts drawn in a fashion and on a timetable that will allow for the elections next year to proceed on a adequate timetable.
We were kind of reliant on that. Stephen, the commission asked for relief from the courts on the deadline portion, and courts basically said no. That seems to me to be the biggest problem in this, is these deadlines that were built into the law.
Yeah, and they were built on the assumption that census data would work the way it normally does. It didn't this time because of COVID. I don't know why the court won't take that into consideration. But we don't have a choice. These are the maps. They need to draw the maps that we're going to use next year. There isn't another way to get that done. And so the courts are going to have to figure out how to let this process go in a way that produces that, and I don't see how you do it without changing those deadlines. Is
Nolan right, though, that we shouldn't have tried to get independence on the commission? I mean, wasn't that a noble effort?
I think it is a noble effort. I mean, I think it's a hard thing to identify. It's an elusive quality, especially in the bitter partisan times we have. But you do want people who vote, sometimes Democrat, sometimes Republican, consider themselves independent. I think that's a large part of the population, and you would be excluding those people, I think, if you didn't have them.
But it's an ideal, not a reality. If you'd have had equal numbers who were forced to come to a compromise, and now you can't be sure that there wasn't a thumb on the scale, that they slipped some partisans in as independents, and that's always going to be the case.
It goes back
it's not realistic.
Confidence, like you both said. I want to quickly let you both weigh in on President Biden this past week, kind of clearly running out of patience. All of us believed, I guess, that the vaccine effort would show more success than it has, and now maybe mandating it for up to 100 million Americans. Nolan, is this the right answer?
Of course not. I don't think it will withstand a court challenge. It's arbitrary. Are you less likely to get COVID if you work for a 90-employee company than a 100-employee company? It's unenforceable. You're putting a huge burden on employers. This should have been left to the employers to decide if vaccine mandates are appropriate, and many have decided that. I think it's an affront to federalism. I doubt this will last long once it gets in the court system.
Stephen, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the public health imperative is going to be of help to the president and the courts. The question is, how strong an imperative is that, and can it override other kinds of statutory and constitutional considerations? The reason, though, that we're seeing government step up this way is because the private sector hasn't. And we got to start talking about when the private sector is going to do what it needs to do, which is to follow the science, put public health first, require vaccines, not just for their employees, but also for their customers, the airlines, the restaurants, the bars, If they were to say, you've got to have a vaccine to come in here, everybody'd get one.
And that was an area Flashpoint watchers will recall you both finding agreement on several weeks ago. Guys, I got to run. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much for the time. As always, we'll see you again soon. Back with more on Flashpoint right after this.
The NFL is back, and DraftKings' latest offer is a sure thing. So we got former automatic NFL kicker Martin Gramatica to break it down. Martin?
Bet just $1 on any NFL game, get $200 Automatica, no matter what.
That is Automatica, Martin Gramatica.
It's no stressy, Jesse.
Download the app, sign up with the promo code. Bet $1 to get $200 automatically, and make it rain with an official sports betting partner of the NFL.
America, I'm here to tell you the movement is on. Thousands of homeowners are plugging into solar with Power Home Solar. We install solar in your home for zero money down, not one single penny. Come join the movement and let the sun shine in.
The Local 4 defenders expose wrongdoing and fight for the truth.
Sean Lay has made a career out of asking the tough questions and never letting go until he gets the answers. Now, as a defender, he's out there every day fighting for what's right.
Karen Drew is a pro. She digs deep and cares so much about getting it right.
In times like this, investigative reporting
has never been so important.
Finally, this morning, Chris, this weekend marks the 20th anniversary of the attacks on the World Trade Center. I don't know if you've ever thought about the moment between putting on one shoe and then the other. Most of us don't break up that task, but Michigan economist Patrick Anderson did, and it saved his life.
I don't tell the whole story very often because it's kind of painful to go through it.
Michigan economist Patrick Anderson was in his hotel room on the 39th floor of one of the World Trade Center towers.
It generally starts with, feeling the first plane hit the building. I mean, I still remember that feeling and that sound, and the fact that I just couldn't figure out what happened. Like most people, it's just like you didn't know, you could not figure out what happened. But I had this feeling of doom. I guess like this is very, very bad. People are going to die, maybe me, almost immediately.
There had been an announcement in the hotel for all to stay in their rooms, which at that moment looked much better than what Patrick saw outside his window.
It was terrible, obviously, Devin. You saw dead people and you saw fire. I mean, it was awful. There's no easy way to say that, and usually I just leave that out. But if you looked outside, you already saw dead people. I'm sitting there and I'm going, well, they said stay in your room, and logically that makes sense, but I'm feeling this doom, and this is terrible. And I know people are already dying, and I'm going through my mind, what do I do? I'm sitting there and I'm putting my shoe on it, and then I just like, it's time to go. And I didn't even put the other shoe on, and I left. It made total sense to me that they were saying stay in your room. And if you looked outside, you could see that if you were outside, you could die. So it made sense. Now, I ended up leaving my room. And I still remember, I mean, for me, it felt like I was tapped on my shoulder by an angel. I said, get out now, or we'll see you not in this world.
One shoe on his foot, the other in his hand, he made a run for his life. At the bottom of the World Trade Center, where the three towers met, it was chaos. People racing out, first responders rushing in, and unwitting subway riders arriving at what can only be described as the wrong stop.
I'll never forget, the getting out of the building and then finally realizing what was happening only after I got out of the building and looked up. And then just that moment of realizing that people were actually trying to kill everybody was a horrible moment. And that for me was as I'm running out of the World Trade Center and the second plane going right over my head.
Perhaps 5 seconds after he came out of the building, the second plane hit. He raced across the street to hide underneath a garbage truck as the crash debris and jet fuel began to rain fire down below. Patrick figures he made it with about 2, maybe 3 seconds to spare.
That was the moment where, for me, time stood still, and I could not reconcile the fact that this plane was heading directly at the building that I was running out of. I was stopping seconds because I didn't want to admit what I was looking at.
But the fight for survival was hardly over. He would need to get much farther from the buildings, of course, ahead of their collapse. And 3 first responders were the next guardian angels to arrive for Patrick, guiding him to the first moment when he realized he was going to come out of this alive. His angels did not.
But I remember, 3 firefighters that were there. They got me out. They didn't get out.
That's a lot to live with, isn't it?
I've got a crime scene bag that the New York Police Department got and sent to me months afterwards. It has some like a part of a briefcase of mine and a picture and everything. And I just can't open the thing. And last time I do, I just remember that World Trade Center smell. And so that's a powerful reminder, but I don't need that. I don't need the smell to remind me.
I'm wondering which is the stronger pull for you as we hit 20 years, the horror of what you saw that day or the way that the nation came together?
That's a good question. I'd have to say the good triumphs over evil. People get up and do that in America, and I'm quite happy to be an American and proud of that. And the fact that we went through 9/11 and that never changed is a source of happiness for me.
It is not easy for Patrick Anderson to talk about it. It certainly won't be on the anniversary. And yet he will, and knows he must.
You can't let down that angel, Patrick.
That's right. I'm going to remember that, Devin. That's a good point. Can't let that angel down.
Patrick doesn't enjoy telling his story. I'm so glad he shared it with us. By the way, he's one of the co-founders of the Michigan Remembers 9/11 Fund, and if you would like to support that fund, we'll put a link at the Flashpoint page of clickondetroit.com. Thanks for being here. Meet the Press is next. Have a great week. See you next time on Flashpoint.